Hey, welcome back. So you're feeling a bit lost, a bit confused, a bit unsure of where to go with your life, how to get there. You asked an adult, and an adult told you that they don't even know what they're doing. So at first you were like, okay, that's good. They don't know what they're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. We're all good. And then you suddenly had a moment of panic because you realized, well, if nobody knows what they're doing, what are any of us doing? Thankfully, I've been there before and might be able to help you with that a little bit. So I'm gonna grab us some coffee and let's chat. All right, here we go. Now, all that I ask is that if you enjoy this at all or get any value out of this, you hit the like and subscribe button. It helps me out, but let's not waste time on that. Let's talk about this. So feeling lost. I think I most felt lost when I was 21, 22, finishing up college, unsure of the future ahead of me, kind of at that point of my childhood is ending, right? College is sort of the twilight zone. It's not real in the sense that you're an adult, but your schedule is very managed. It's prepared for you. Your life's less open-ended. But then you come to the end of that, or maybe you graduated high school, you didn't even go to college, and you come to the end of that, and suddenly it's kind of just a blank slate, right? It's a blank slate, and it's terrifying. It's like the ultimate freedom. But if you have too much freedom, you don't know what to do with it. You don't know where to put the energy. And for years, without knowing where I was going, without knowing how to set a direction, I spent a lot of time wandering in the desert of freedom, let's call it, where the possibilities were endless. And that part was exciting. The possibilities are endless, right? I could do anything. I could become anything. And it makes you excited. But the reality is that if you can become anything, you are nothing, right? You are not. You have no specialization, no mastery, no skills of any kind in particular, right? And so I found myself in the desert of freedom, and I wandered. I bounced around from job to job very aimlessly. It was very easy to feel hopeless and to be full of despair about the future because I never felt like I was going in any particular direction, and I didn't know what direction to go into. And life is hard. Bad things happen in life. Rough times come, for everybody. There is no such thing as an easy life. And you don't want an easy life. You want a life that challenges you, that tests you and pushes you so you can see really what you're made of. But that's a tangent. And when the hard days come, when the bad things happen, when you have no greater vision or aim or something that you're oriented at, it's really easy to become hopeless because not only are you directionless, but now you're experiencing pain that seems worthless. What's the point of the pain? There is no point if you don't know where you're going. There's no point if you have no direction, right? So what I found after years of doing this, and what I'm hoping to save you some heartache and some pain, is that the most important thing you can do as soon as you have a sense that you don't know where you're going in life is create a vision for yourself. It's create a vision of the future, and it can't be vague. It has to be pretty specific. Not too specific, of course, because you don't know the details yet. You can't know all the details, but it needs to be more specific than I want to be rich or I want to have a big house. I mean, those are fine. Those are good details to have, but what's more important is that you map how you're going to get there, right? And not just that you map how to get there, but that the destination is worth it. Because the destination that you've got in mind is what's going to get you through the pain and the heartache and the really hard times. It's knowing that pain is for something. There is a greater target, a greater purpose here that you have. And so that way when life hits you, you can withstand it. So that's important as well, is what am I aiming at? You got to figure out what you're aiming at. So that vision, you got to create the vision. Can't be too specific, but it can't be too vague. And the vision has to incorporate things that you value, that you really value, things that mean something in your heart, not just things that you want to have, things that would be nice to have, but things you genuinely value. And I'll give you an example here is everyone would probably say they would value, freedom and money. And that might be the case. So if someone offered you a job where you make a lot of money, but you work, I don't know, 12, 15-hour days. You're working most of the year. You don't get a lot of free time to spend with your family and friends. Would you take it? And not just would you take it, maybe you would take it initially, but if you took it and then you fulfilled that job for a while, would you feel fulfilled? Would you feel fulfilled? Would that job satisfy you? So in other words, is what you value really money? And I think at first most people would be pretty happy if they're making a lot of money, but quickly they would realize that they're unhappy and the money's not worth it. So I think that's why I say that wanting certain things in your life is kind of, it's usually the incorrect thing to aim at. And I'll say from my experience that what I value most, what I've learned that I value most, when I'm peak happiness, that's when I'm with friends, I'm with family, I'm enjoying their company. And when I realized that, it changed that vision of the future and it redirected me. It made me say, well, actually, okay, I do want to, try to make money and be successful in those categories. But what I really value is actually being with my friends and family. It's spending time with them. It's watching my nieces and nephews grow up. And to do that, the requirements of that are different than the requirements of other things, right? You want to make a lot of money, you could go work the job that works you 60 hours a week plus, make a lot of money. If you want to spend time with your family, though, you wouldn't pick that job because you won't get any time with them. See how it changes the direction. What you value changes the direction. Now, one is not necessarily better than the other. This is not to say that you shouldn't value money or material success. That's all for you to decide. But what's important is that you just identify that, because when you're working 60-hour weeks and if you're getting paid really well, right, it'll be worth it. You'll feel that. You'll feel that it's worth it. You value money enough in that case to say this is worth it. For me, it wouldn't be worth it. What I value is the flexibility to be with my friends, my family, to do things like this, like talk to you. So you have to make sure that what you're aiming at, that vision of the future, that grand goal, whatever it is, it has to be what you value. Because knowing that you're on the path to the thing that you value most is what's going to get you through those hard times. It's what's going to help you sustain the hurt, the pain, and the horrors of life, because that's life. It is life. So once you've got that, now suddenly you're not so lost. And it doesn't give you all of the answers, because that's the best part too, is the adventure is just getting there, right? There's differences between feeling satisfied, right? Achieving something and pursuing something. There are different feelings, right? Once you achieve a certain thing, you get satisfied, right? You have a satiation, and that's one feeling. But the pursuit of something is a whole other feeling. And if you do some research on like dopamine and all these things, what you'll find is that the pursuit of something actually gives us more motivation and pleasure than the achievement, which the satiation of something. So really, it's not even about actually attaining the vision. It's about pursuing the vision. It's about being oriented towards it and going after it. And that allows you then to stop bouncing back and forth, maybe between meaningless jobs. It allows you to decide to stop being an enigma of, we'll call it an enigma of possibilities, right? Potentialities, right? When you're young and you don't have a vision, you're just potential, because you can go any direction. But as soon as you start heading in one direction, you're saying no to all of these. And that's very difficult at first. I struggled with that a lot. I didn't like the idea of giving up all of the other potentialities, all of the other versions of me, if you will, all of the other lives I could have lived. But what you'll realize is that no decision, not deciding to go down one path, is deciding to go down no paths, because you're just going to stay like that forever and you're just drift. And that's terrible. And that will leave you hopeless in the face of the hardships of life. But if you go down one path, you pick a path and you head down there, what you'll find is that you'll start building mastery and competence. And that mastery and competence can earn you respect. And earning respect can help you take on responsibility, which will also give you something to aim at and something to pursue. Again, more meaning in the face of the meaninglessness, more hope in the face of the pain of life. And if you've seen another video of mine, I talk about the absurdity of life, and this is where I caught myself up for a while. I would think all of these things when I was younger, and then I would come to the point of, but none of it matters because one day we all die, which is just it's the most asinine excuse to not do anything that you'll ever hear. It's better you realize that now rather than later, because it's so arbitrary. It doesn't mean anything. If that's the case, then okay, sit on your ass on the couch and rot. I mean, if that's the case, go do drugs. If that's the case, right? Like you can justify anything with that, well, justification. But it's so meaninglessness. It's utter meaninglessness. I mean, and you have to get past that, right? You have to get rid of these arbitrary arguments that you're going to come up with yourself. Like, well, everyone dies, so it just doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to die one day. What does it matter if I'm successful or not, or if I achieve anything of value? And it's because, well, you're not dead now, are you? You're not dead now. And when you're dead, you won't know you're dead, right? Because you're dead. So, like, if you're giving yourself those excuses, just cut them. Just, again, learn from me. Just cut them out now. It took me years to get over those kinds of things, which sounds so silly when I look back on it. Because, again, it's utter nonsense. It's so arbitrary. So cut all of that out and just focus on actually asking yourself those questions about what you want out of life. So to break it all down, right, the first thing is really discovering what do I value? That's really that's the first thing you'd have to ask yourself. That's the first thing I had to find out was, what do I value? And when you know what you value, you could say, okay, I value this thing and I want to get to that. I have a vision where I am able to experience what I value. How can I orient myself towards that, right? Well, maybe I can't work 3 jobs, which means maybe I need to learn a particular skill so I don't have to work 3 low-paying jobs. I could work 1 high-paying job, right? Which means I need to get off my phone in the evenings and I need to put time and effort into learning a new skill with one of the many, many, many resources there are online. I mean, there's literally no excuse at this point not to be able to learn new skills. Maybe that's what I need to do, because I don't want to spend all my time at work. I want to have a family, which is an excellent goal. I want to have a family, and I don't just want to have a family. I want to provide for my family. Oh, it's an even better goal. Now you're cooking, And maybe that means you need to not only learn a couple new skills, but you need to take on responsibility. So now you didn't just learn that high income skill. You went and you are trying to become a manager of people who have that high income skill. So now you're taking on responsibility for other people. And that earns you respect and more mastery. And it's a cycle there. Once it starts picking up, I mean, you'll roll with it. But what did it all start with? It started with deciding what you value so that you know which direction to head in. And then the second part was just pick one. There are going to be a ton. There's going to be all these great ideas you're going to have. Get out of your imagination. Stop imagining the different lives you could have and the different realities you could create, and pick one to act it out. That's the adventure. That's the life that you get to live. That's what makes this all exciting and fun, is seeing if you can even do it. Get out of your head. Get out of your head. And then the last one was really just throw out all of the arbitrary arguments. Whatever these little thoughts are that are holding you back, take it from me, get rid of them. And it sounds easier said than done, but it's just a truth. And you'll find this out as you begin to actually ask yourself questions about what you value. You'll realize that, okay, you can actually have an internal monologue with yourself. You can actually dive deep into who I am and what I want out of life. And as you do that, and that other side of you throws out those kinds of arbitrary arguments about none of it being worth it in the end, climate change, the world's going to burn in a minute, another pandemic's going to have whatever excuses you give yourself, you'll realize that you can actually shut them down, because you can have that internal monologue with yourself. And it starts by just asking about what you value. So you really got to sit down and think about that. And that's hard. It's very difficult. And you might just not have an answer for a while, but just keep asking the questions and actually listen to yourself for the answer, because there's probably a part of you that will scream it out. There's probably a part of you that's really going to get loud if the more you ask yourself these questions. At least there was in me. And once you do all those things, and again, you've got this picture of the future, something to aim at. It's so vague. For me, even, it's still so vague. I mean, it's detailed but vague at the same time. But what it does is it's made the suffering of life easier. It's helped me to take on a perspective of curiosity and ask myself, what can I learn from the things I'm going through, knowing that I've got this goal and trusting that I will get there, right? So looking at life as it's happening as, how can I aim myself that direction, and how can the things I'm experiencing now turn me into the person I want to be in that vision? Because that's a component of it as well. That's a component of it as well. Who you are in that vision, not just what you want, but who you are. who you want to become. And as I always say, if you can imagine a better version of you, well, then that person already exists. You just have to start behaving that way. That's for another video. I hope that was helpful. I know it's still vague. I know I didn't tell you what to do, and I'm not going to, and nobody can. And somebody who tells you what to do, well, you're probably not going to want to do it because they told you to do it. And that's not living your life. It's your life. You get to decide. That's the best part. It's the best part. You get to decide for yourself. So I'm not going to tell you what to do. You have to decide what you want to do. But it's a lot easier to know what you want to do when you know what you want. And although we all know what we don't like, what we don't want, sitting down and asking yourself what you actually do want, it's a different question. And I think you'll be surprised that it will bring to life different answers. So that's my recommendation. If you're feeling lost, sit down with a notebook, start there. What do I value? What do I want my life to look like? Who do I want to be? Ask yourself those questions. Write lots. Write down everything that comes to your mind. And as you do, you'll start to shape something. You'll start to form some vision of the future that you can begin to orient yourself towards. And this is a process. Do it again and again, right? Do it a couple times a year. Do it once a year minimum. And ask yourself those questions and see how your life goes. Enjoy the adventure. Enjoy the pursuit of that dream. I hope that was helpful. If it was, I ask again, just like and subscribe. It really does help me out. And I've enjoyed this conversation a lot because this is something dear and near to my heart because like I said, I really did. I went through the worst of that. And I'm hoping that I can just save you a little bit of pain. So thanks for stopping by and having coffee with me. And I'll talk to you later.